Good morning, everyone. We're about to begin. Oh, wow, that worked. The microphone's on. Thank you. It's great to hear everybody interacting so much. That's a big part of the point of why we wanted to gather everybody here together today. So you are here for the second annual CTE Outcomes Survey Research Academy. Welcome. And you are here at the Petaluma Campus of Santa Rosa Junior College. We're going to do some polling today using your cell phone, and I'll ask you to please play along. It's kind of a lot of fun. So once again, welcome to SRJC Petaluma. This is part of the Sonoma County Junior College District. We are a large single college district serving between 35,000 and 40,000 students annually. Our largest campus is in Santa Rosa, and the second largest, they serve about 20,000 students a semester, and you are on the second largest campus, the Petaluma campus. We serve about 5,000 students per semester here. We have some other program-specific locations that serve smaller numbers of students, including a public safety training center. We have a college farm, and we have a place called Pepperwood Preserve that's an open space learning laboratory. You all may remember the Tubbs fire from last year that really shot through the city of Santa Rosa and caused a lot of damage. It burnt all the grassland at our Pepperwood Preserve, but the buildings remained. And interestingly, I bring this up because it's kind of a cool little thing, that now that's being used as a laboratory for scientists and biologists to really study how areas recover from wildfires, how grasslands recover from wildfires. So we're kind of spread out across the county. I just always like to give people a context so they know where they are. We have about 3,000 employees, and we're celebrating our 100th anniversary this year, and we are on president number 5 in 100 years. Wow. I know, you can do the math on that. Pretty amazing, pretty amazing. Okay, I'd like to now invite the SRJC research team to the stage, and I'll give you their names as they start coming out. They're a little shy. They didn't want to come up here, but I made them. Okay, Karen Maddox, Jeannie Fidelli, Laura Abel, Greg Drukala, Michael Pham, and Blair Lamb. And these are the people you can turn to all day. You'll be hearing from some of them in sessions, especially Michael Pham, otherwise known as Mr. CTEOS. And Karen Maddox, who put this whole day together, all the logistics, and is taking good care of all of us. Thanks, you guys. Yeah. Oh, now they're excited they get to go. I would also like to recognize the members of the CTEOS Advisory Committee, many of whom are here today. We have Kathy Booth, if you'd please stand. So, well, everybody knows Kathy. Jessica Ludke, is she in the audience already? There was Jessica. Kit O'Doherty. Terrence Willett. Rain Hambley. Okay, Zhenya Lindstrom. And Dave Wall. There we go. Did I miss anybody else who snuck in? No, okay, I just wanted to make sure. That wouldn't be good. Okay, we're starting our first poll now. So when you have your cell phone out, if you would please, oh, somebody got ahead of me too. What state were you born in? If you could please text the 2-letter abbreviation of that state, or if you were born outside the United States, please put in the country name. And you guys will see how this works. Look at that. No surprise, a lot of us were born in California. I've pre-populated a few slides with my answers, which is why California came up there first, so you'll learn a little bit about me too. See, we have too big of a group to really do much in the way of icebreakers, so this is what we're doing. Look at that. So many foreign countries. no other state's getting that many poll takers. So you get the idea, we are a diverse bunch. Predominantly Californians, but lots of other states and countries in there. Is everybody seeing their poll answer come up on the screen? Yeah, good, okay. Look at that. Vietnam, Holland, Nigeria, Philippines, Uzbekistan. This could be a fun thing the rest of the day. Now you have to go around and figure out who's from which country, right? Okay, we're gonna move on. You guys got the hang of the polling. And now I'm going to ask you what your primary role is. And for here, you type in the corresponding A, B, C, D, E to the role that best describes what you do. Oh, we have a lot of researchers in the room. Okay, so we have close to an even split between CTE administrators and institutional researchers, and then a few others with statewide roles or other roles. Well, that's good. That's kind of what we hoped for. We wanted to get the research tech geeks together with the CTE deans and administrators, so hopefully we can have some rich conversations and work well together. Okay, I'm going to move on again to the name of your institution. You can use the common abbreviation, that would be the best. That way, there we go. I have a feeling SRJC stacking the deck on this one too. Look at that, what a beautiful word cloud. Well, there we go. There's evidence now that we are coming from across the entire state of California. Okay, we're going to move on from the polling now and get to some other slides, but we have a few more polling questions that we will ask in a few minutes too. By the way, after today, I'll be able to save these slides with all of everybody's responses, and we'll get them into the final presentation before posting it online. So if your answers are still getting in there, don't worry, your vote will be counted. So I'm going to start off this morning by telling you the story of the CTE Outcomes Survey. Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, called California, there were a number of public community colleges. And in this land called California, there were CTE deans and instructors who were very happy. They were providing training and education to prepare students to meet the demands of the labor market. They knew their students were getting jobs, good jobs, some even before completing a certificate or degree. Students were happy, employers were happy, even advisory committees were happy. But then came the age of accountability. And in the land of California, how were community colleges assessed and being held accountable? Well, of course, by how many students earned degrees, were issued certificates, or transferred to a four-year institution. At first, the CTE folks felt understandably, they felt panicked, they felt worried, they felt frightened. But then, they got a little angry. "No fair," said the deans and the CTE faculty. "We have many Skills Builder students who are not interested in earning an award. They just want to improve their skills to get better jobs. And they do get better jobs. We know they do. We have many students who do not need a college-issued award. They need an industry certification. That's what makes them employable. It's not fair to measure the success of CTE programs based solely on degrees, certificates, and transfer." So here's some clapping. So then the CTE deans had to think about this. How should we be assessed? What would be fair? Well, it would be more fair if we could use these questions in an assessment of CTE. Are our students, CTE students, employable? Do they find jobs? Do they find jobs in the fields we train them in? And do they see an increase in income? But unfortunately, this land was not readily available in the land of California, not nearly as readily available as counts of degrees, certificates, and transfer. A few colleges, such as Cabrillo and Mount Sac, they surveyed their students to get this information, but the process was resource intensive to conduct at the local level. And then a magical thing happened in the land of California. Community college CTE professionals had the same idea. What if we pooled our resources and scaled up surveying efforts? What if we could design our very own survey to collect employment outcomes data from our former students? What if? And the CTE Outcomes Survey was born. Over time in the land of California, it became clear that all community colleges would benefit from participation in this survey. So the queen of the land, who lived in the Chancellor's castle, magnanimously underwrote the costs for all of her subjects to participate in the survey. CTE deans and instructors were happy once again, as there was evidence documenting the importance and success of their programs. And they lived happily ever after, that is, until the king announced his new incentive-based funding formula. But alas, that is a story for another time. The end. So that story was a lot of fun, but you get the basic message. In 2012, a partnership was born. It was a grassroots effort coming primarily from CTE deans in the Bay Area, who spearheaded this effort in partnership with the RP Group, the Chancellor's Office, and SRJC. The partnership evolved over time. The RP Group decided they needed other things that they should focus on, and the survey came to be housed here at SRJC, still in collaboration with the Chancellor's Office and all of you. Okay, another quick poll. How many times has your college participated in the annual CTE Outcomes Survey? A nice little historical footnote, all of you have participated at least once since it's gone statewide, but you may not all know how many times you participated. Yeah. So it makes sense, the majority have participated, the preponderance have participated 1 or 2 times since it just went statewide last year. Okay, so quite a spread, and a number participating since the beginning in 2012. In 2012, it was voluntary. Colleges paid to cover the costs to opt in, and we started with a pilot program with 15 colleges. So 15 colleges spearheaded this effort in that first year. Okay. Another question, just a fun one, doing my own research here. Were you in the first in your family to graduate from college? Are you a first-generation college student? Another little fun fact, many more community college professionals are first-generation graduates than you find at four-year universities, where the majority come from college-educated families. Look at that, though. About a third of us are first generation. And still counting. Okay. I'm now going to turn to just giving some real top-level results from the statewide survey in 2017. And we'll get back to a few more polls in a minute, just for a little bit more fun. So we had a 34% response rate this last year, thanks in great part to the efforts of Michael Pham and really dogging this through everywhere that he could. That's pretty remarkable for survey research. I'm very proud of that. Your students gave you an overall 91% satisfaction rate with their education and training, which is always nice to see. Just over a third of the students we surveyed said that they transferred to a four-year college or university. So about 2/3 of the respondents we think enter the workforce, that's part of the survey, and 35% transfer. That's the way it works out with the survey. And about 70% are working in the field of training or close, which is nice to see. That's a very important variable as you'll be learning more about over the course of the day. We are finding that the majority of students are employed for pay a year after they exit community colleges in California. 9% report being self-employed. And this is a very important piece of the survey because when other sources look at UI wage data and other administrative data sets that don't include information on self-employed students or self-employed people. And about 10% of our students are self-employed. So the only way we're getting information about their employment is through this survey at this point in time. About 60% report being employed at one job, 11% employed at more than one job, and then we have various little categories of unemployed and seeking, unemployed and not seeking, working not for pay. So that's the overall picture. Work status. We find that before students, about a third of students report working full-time prior to their studies and training, and over half report full-time employment after their studies and training. So we can see that community colleges seem to contribute to more full employment. Working in the field of training, the survey data point that clearly, this is the survey data point that's clearly getting the most attention because currently there's no other source of gathering this information. And it's become such an important point. It's being included in lots of statewide metrics, including the Chancellor's Office vision and the strong workforce incentive funding model. Wage increase, this is what people always are the most interested in statewide. In 2017, we show an increase in wages of 40% from before studies and training to after. This is fairly consistent with prior years. It's usually in the 30 to 40% range, which is good. It's what we would like to see for our students. That's just for a little bit of show and splash. Okay, another quick poll. For you, this is one of the questions we ask the students, and I'm curious for all of you, how closely related to your field of study or formal training is your current job? I didn't ask this question last year, but I was really curious, especially since many of us change careers multiple times. This is exactly why we still need community college CTE retooling, why students come back to us when they want to brush up on skills or embark on a new career. So basically, a third of us are saying that our current job is not at all related to our training or formal training. Well, that's kind of fun. And again, I'll quantify this for posterity, but I'm going to move on to the next little poll. How long have you been in your current position? Because many of us do change careers or positions. You guys really have the hang of this polling. I'm impressed. Wow, a third of us less than 1 year. Welcome, newbies. Well, there we go. it appears that most of us do shift jobs fairly frequently. Okay, going on with a few more facts from the CTE Outcomes Survey. Over time, the past number of years, the participation of the number of colleges, remember I said 15 colleges in the first pilot year. You can see more colleges every year until the last 2 years when we have been surveying all colleges, thanks to the Chancellor's office. That red line at the top shows the response rate over time. It's varied between 20 and last year's high of 34%. We're hoping to keep it up there. And again, that's I'm very proud of that. Survey research doesn't usually get response rates quite that high. Number of students surveyed, sounds like a McDonald's commercial, but we're at about 150,000 students that we survey annually right now. And the change in wages over time, this blue bar shows the student hourly wage before the courses and training, before they come to community colleges. You can see that over the past years, that hourly wage has decreased, the pre-wage for students coming in. The red bar there shows post wages. That's been relatively flat. This last year, it took a little bit of a dip. But the difference between the blue bar and the red bar is the percent increase. And this line shows the percent increase. So you can see over time, the percent increase has continued to be fairly stable between 30 and 40%. And students are still seeing a big bump from community college training. Even if they're coming in with lower wages, or perhaps because they are, we're still serving this function that seems to allow them to earn more money afterwards. For more detailed findings, if I've whetted your appetite, we have the CTEOS project website. All of your data is there for you to look at, as well as data from other colleges statewide. You can, there are data visualizations, so you can look at data by region. You can compare yourself to similar colleges. So I encourage you to really look into that website when you have the opportunity to do that. Okay, one more poll. Did you yourself receive post-secondary training or education in a CTE field? And I'm wondering, there's probably a split here, maybe, between researchers and CTE folks. I'm not sure. Yeah, and I did allow that that very scientific category at the bottom, just in case you're, yeah. Wow, most of us did not. Well, that's astounding. It's a little different than I would have expected. Okay, I'm just going to touch on how the CTE Outcomes Survey data have been used, the use of the findings. And this is actually a major topic for the whole conference. So throughout the day, you'll be hearing more about this. I'm, again, just going to touch on some top-level pieces. The use of the findings, a lot of it has been for accountability evidence to support CTE, statewide especially. And I guess evidence of that is that, like I mentioned, it's built into the Chancellor's vision for success. One of his goals is to increase the percentage of students who report being employed in their field of study. And again, the only source of information for that right now is the Outcomes Survey. There's a whole lot more data available through the survey. You'll be hearing about that today. But that one variable, it gets a lot of attention because that information simply isn't available elsewhere. Also, the new launch board, that is a theme today. There will be a whole conference track on the launch board. The launch board uses CTE outcomes data. It's infused throughout the community college pipeline tab. It is one of the strong workforce program metrics, employment and field of study. It's incorporated as part of the incentive funding model, the 17%, and it's one of the 3 criteria used for the strong workforce stars. How many of you know that you have a strong workforce star program? Yeah, there we go. That's a fun thing. Again, there are many additional uses of the findings. Some of them aren't as exciting as others or might be invisible to all of you. Veterans reporting is one. Because the survey data is on file, colleges don't have to individually report to the state VA about the outcomes of their veterans, the employment outcomes of their veterans. That's a huge reporting burden that has been lifted because of this survey. So I'm really happy about that, even though most people are completely unaware. And in addition to the accountability evidence, of course, the survey provides a lot of rich information for program review, regional analysis, and other things. So we hope you'll be talking a lot about that today, especially with CTE deans and administrators and researchers together to really see and understand how you can mine the data of the survey to get a lot more use out of the efforts of gathering the survey data for your local purposes, in addition to the statewide accountability that's happening regardless of what you do locally. With that, I would like to turn the mic over to Mr. CTEOS, Michael Pham, who's going to walk you through some more.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Michael. If you don't recognize me, you've never been to a conference before, by the way. So I'm Michael. Last year I used to be called that guy who works with Casey, but now I'm that CTEOS guy. I want to talk about why we're all here. The first reason is to build community. There's a reason why this isn't a webinar. There's a lot of opportunities for all of us to meet and greet in person, build relationships. And this is also a big, useful thing for me too, because when I first started doing the CTEOS, one of the first steps is that I have to reach out to each of your colleges and ask for student contact information. And for a long time, a lot of colleges thought that I was trying to steal their data. So once I asked this past year, they're like, oh yeah, CTEOS, of course. So that makes it a smoother process. But overall, please take full advantage of these opportunities to meet and greet in person. The second one is to learn about resources to grow our community colleges. So there's a lot of useful information in the survey if you haven't really dug into it yet. And I'll talk about it in the next few slides, but there is so much, there's a wealth of information that we can use for our students to help them and improve our programs. We also want to increase the awareness and usage of CTEOS and Launchboard. We got a Launchboard track I'm going to talk about among all stakeholders. So there's a lot of people, there's a very large team that's involved in CTE. We have our students and we have our faculty. We have our researchers here, we have our deans here. But we also have all the people that connect our colleges to local employers. And as of now, the CTEOS has only been used within these pockets within colleges. So one of these goals at this academy is try to get this data out to the people outside of colleges so that they can figure out what we're doing in here. And finally, to continue this grassroots spirit of this project. So this is the second year we've done this Research Academy, and I do recognize some faces from last year. And that's a real honor, by the way. That's like Woodstock. You're like the first Research Academy, but this one is much better. We have better swag. We have polo shirts instead of T-shirts. So, but this survey started by the people who needed the survey, and it continues to serve that function to today. This isn't some top-down thing that was imposed upon us, but this was started by the people who needed it the most. And so we want to continue that spirit of making sure that the people who are going to use the survey and who need the survey can continue to shape the future of this survey. There's a lot of discussion groups at this Research Academy, and that was also the same case last year too. And a lot of the things that we had learned from your contributions during these discussion groups have since gone into the survey and have been integrated into what you'll see in the next few slides about how this survey has changed thanks to the last Research Academy. So to fulfill these goals, we have 4 tracks at this Research Academy. And these tracks are to help you navigate if you're a little bit uncertain about where you want to go or learn about. You're of course welcome to jump around, and maybe if you want to go outside your comfort zone and see what other people are doing that are outside of your typical job description. The first is a data and analysis track. This is for, like me, really nerdy, geeky people who like to play with numbers, have trouble socializing with. I'm just kidding. This is there's a lot of variables, there's a lot of things going on. So we have a few sessions. We also have some wonderful people from large software companies who've brought their cool tools and who have already played with CTEOS data. So there's a lot of different ways you can try to dig into it as well. But I also want to invite people who are not usually technically savvy, if you're curious, to stop by, because these are designed so that you don't need an extensive amount of technical background to play with these tools. The second is discussion groups, like I had mentioned earlier. This is a very important and crucial part of the Research Academy because, as I mentioned earlier, this is a grassroots survey. And so your feedback is super important in making sure that this tool remains useful for you. If there are any ideas that you have that you want seen in the survey in the future, come by, stop at these discussion groups, and let us know what you want to see. CTEOS and its uses. These are a series of lectures where you'll get to learn about the basics of CTEOS. If, for example, I've been saying CTEOS and you actually forgot or don't know what it stands for, this might be a great track for you. It's for people who are very unfamiliar with what is CTEOS, and you'll also learn about how other people have used CTEOS locally at their schools. And you'll also learn maybe a little bit of history lessons about how the CTES has grown, starting at Cabrillo College and expanding now into a statewide effort. And we also have a series of sessions on Launchboard. And Launchboard has changed quite a bit in the past few months. They even have an entirely new interface that's very streamlined and a lot easier to use. So if you are interested in learning more about Launchboard, stop by those tracks as well. So there's a lot of data sources out there. I want to talk about why the CTEOS specifically is important. There's so many different outcome surveys nationally. There's also a lot of administrative data sets. A lot of people ask about wage gains. What are our students making after they leave college? And that's certainly an important question. And one of the main sources to get that is the unemployment insurance, the UI wage data. There's some limitations in that data that this particular data source addresses. It's also important to note that any single one data source doesn't answer all of your questions. It's always useful to grab data from multiple sources. So I'm going to talk about what are some of the things that this survey can address that UI wage data, for example, can't address. So as Casey mentioned earlier, there's a sizable portion of self-employed individuals here. And that's just not something that you can capture at that administrative data set that you could capture here in the CTEOS. The second is that the people without social security numbers who are maybe flying a little bit under the radar aren't going to be captured in normal locations. And this is, of course, especially true in California when we have one of the largest, possibly the largest percentage of residents who don't have social security numbers. And we want to make sure that, especially because we work at community colleges, we want to serve that population. We want to make sure that they feel like they are being included as well when we build our programs. Also, out-of-state migrants. If you take a few courses here in California and you decide to leave the state, then it is going to become very difficult to track you. And this is going to become increasingly more important over time because when I don't know how many years ago, when I used to attend community college in San Jose, the decision for me to choose between two colleges was driving distance. Okay, these are the two closest colleges to me where I was growing up. So then I grabbed the two college applications, and then I attended the college with a shorter application. So that was how I chose which community college. It was Mission College, by the way. But that was how I chose my college. But as we move forward, and this is very apparent to all of you in this room, that we are becoming much more distance education. There's a lot more online learning opportunities, and it will become less and less important to attend your college locally. And our programs will change so that we will continue to serve our local community, but also to accommodate for this new technological trend. So we'll definitely be seeing more out-of-state migrants, and you'll see a very slight increase in that percentage of out-of-state migrants if you look at CTEOS over the years. And finally, there's some specific occupations, some government jobs where they don't necessarily contribute to the unemployment insurance wages. So we want to try to capture as many people as possible, and this is one, when used in conjunction alongside other data sources, will help us get a more complete picture of our community college students. But the survey isn't just about wages. This is certainly an important component, though. Maybe you want to know why your students are even going to community college. Casey mentioned earlier, we always have high satisfaction rates when you ask students how satisfied they are with their experience at colleges. We always get 90, sometimes 95% satisfaction rate. And these are the types of things that our PR and marketing teams can use to promote our colleges. So let's not always just focus on wages. This is certainly an important component, especially for CTE programs, but there's a lot of other cool stuff in the survey that will help you and your college. How many hours did you work? You might be earning more money, but it might be the case that you just might be working more hours. And this survey is one of those ways where you can find out whether the increase in wages are due to getting a raise specifically, earning more money per hour. And that's not the type of question you can answer in different data, in other data sources. And also, what's your occupation? We've been working with Burning Glass to standardize the job titles, which is very difficult to get. But if you find out that in different administrative data sets, somebody works in biomanufacturing, maybe you don't know specifically if they're working as a lab technician or as a driver. So what's new in the survey over the past year and some change? The first is we have top codes for skills builders, and that was the most demanded thing. Actually, when I first came on the survey, which was a little bit more than a year ago, people were always asking me about, hey, how do we get these top codes for these skills? And I didn't know what top codes were at that time, but now I know, and now we have them, okay? We also have standardized NAICS industry codes, standardized job titles, ONET codes. There's a lot more standardization in the codes, so there's a lot more simplified classification of our students. We also have full participation from all community colleges in California. And there's also a lot of extra nerdy behind the scenes stuff, data we're collecting as well. If you're curious to know all the different ways your students are using the survey, there's also these background variables that are also in the data set. So that's what's happened in the past year and something. But what's happening in the near future? There's been some rumblings, and I expect it to happen probably in the next year or so, that currently we're serving a very specific subset of CTE students. There are very specifically defined cohort parameters to determine who is eligible to take the survey. But at some point, this survey is going to be expanding. It's going to be including more of our community college students. The students who are non-CT, the academic side, they are getting survey envy. They always ask, why aren't we getting surveyed? So there is going to be an expansion of the survey to cover more of our students. The second is that we have been combining more data sources into this data set for more comprehensiveness. So a lot of the metrics that we see everywhere for accountability is about wages. Are our students getting more money after they finish training versus before they came? And that's certainly an important question to ask. But another important question that has been sort of overlooked for a while now is student debt. When we look at one of the most important reasons why you would pursue a CTE program is that in comparison to pursuing maybe a 4-year degree or more, that you won't be racking up a debt as much. So we've been working on a few different options on trying to find ways to measure student debt as they go through community college system. And it's very cheap to attend here. As you all know, it's very cheap to attend community college. And having that component alongside wages will be a huge marketing tool for CTE programs. And we're going to be creating more tools that are more useful for people who are outside the people in this particular room. I recently learned earlier this year what a DSN is. And and I want to pursue ways to have this resource, which has been very valuable to me, to a lot of people in this room, but I want to make sure that its value is seen outside of the college as well. Because as I mentioned, CTE, there's a lot of people involved in that pipeline, all of the students, and all the way out to the local employers. There's a lot of useful information that can be used for a lot of people. So tools are being developed so that they are becoming more accessible to the folks outside of our college walls. And further down into the future, I want to expand these types of data sources so that they're much more consolidated, so that I don't have to look for various places all the time and try to grab some sort of cryptic unique identifier across multiple data sources to merge things together, and hopefully at some point build this one-stop shop for all of us to have a very complete, comprehensive picture of the outcomes of our students. So after today, I want you to consider a few things. First, we all have flash drives in your goodie bag, and the flash drives contain the actual survey. It contains data for your college, and if you're not associated with the college, you'll have data from a different college, Santa Rosa. There are CTEOS reports, the data element dictionary. So take a look at the flash drive and see what's in there. There's going to be some useful stuff for you to continue your learning after today. The second is that I'm always at conferences. We like to set up tables to let everybody know about CTEOS, and we use that as opportunities to educate the public. I don't sell things, but stop by and chat, and you can grab free swag. So at the very least, if you're short on bottle openers before you head out, stop by the table and grab some free stuff. And also stop by our website, cteos.santarosa.edu. We're always building more visualizations. I actually just built 2 last night. And very soon we're going to have that domain, cteos.org. And I also, of course, want to give out a shout out to the launch board. Lots of redesigned interfaces, which very easy to use. Check that out as well. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Karen.
Okay, I get to talk about just the logistics of the conference and some general information. So throughout the academy, if you guys have any questions, we will have an information table just outside where you checked in, and we'll have it staffed all day, so anything that you need, come and ask us. When you leave here, you'll be leaving out the front door as you came out, turn left, and you'll be going to the call building, which is where all the breakout sessions are being held, which will be next on your schedule. If you haven't already, We have a mobile app. It's the SRJC Petaluma mobile app, and on there you can find your schedule. There's a tile that says CTEOS Research Academy. Just you'll enter the map or the app as a visitor and select that tile, and it has the schedule for the day. You'll also have a schedule in your packet. There are restrooms just outside of Ellis. If you turn right and just follow the restroom signs, there's also restrooms in the cafe and in the call building on the first and second floor. So reimbursements, that's the question that everybody has. And you will find a reimbursement form in your portfolio, but you'll also find an electronic Excel file on your flash drive. And if you use that one, it has all the formulas in it to do all the additions in it. We do want to have those forms either emailed or mailed to me by August 17th. So all the reimbursement forms with your receipts should be sent to me by the 17th. Receipts are required for everything except for rides using the Uber code and your meals. Your meals are paid on a per diem, so any meals that are outside of the conference or associated with travel, we just have a per diem on that. For mileage, you just need to include a copy of your route, and if you have any expenses that are to be paid to your college and to you, all you need to do is submit 2 reimbursement forms, one that would have the college information on it and one that has your personal information, and that's where the check will be sent out to. We want to ask if you'll allow 60 days for processing, but hopefully we can get it out to you sooner than that. And if you have any questions about reimbursements or anything that qualifies, just go ahead and email me or give me a call, and all my information is on the form. At lunch, after lunch today, you guys all got some really cool polo shirts this time, and we're gonna ask if you put those polo shirts on, meet us in Rotary Plaza, and we're gonna take a group photo of everybody here. And after the conference, if anybody is taking a shuttle to the Petaluma Fairgrounds, we'll meet right in front of the college doors, which are right past the clock tower in Rotary Plaza. And I don't know if any of you guys were able to take advantage of the Uber code that Michael set up, but the Uber code is valid all today as well, so you can travel anywhere within Petaluma and use the Uber code. And any rides that you took on the Uber code do not have to be put on your travel reimbursement. Those are already prepaid for. And so what's the best for last is what's in your bag. So in your bag you'll find some earbuds, chargers that fit any type of device, and a bottle opener. So you know that Michael picked everything out because it's everything for a party, along with our cool shirts. So with that, I think that's everything, and we're ready to go out to our breakout sessions. And again, on the left is the call building for breakout sessions. So everybody enjoy the conference. We're happy that you're all here.